Craftwerk. I'm Ruthie and I'm back with another video. Sorry again, it's been a couple of weeks. I have decided on a new filming schedule to work with my new lifestyle of having a full-time job that I commute to, and that is 2 videos a month. So I'm not at the moment going to commit to a specific day or time because I can't guarantee when I'll be able to do the filming and do the editing. But if I just try and commit to 2 videos a month, then I know I can probably manage that without turning it into some kind of really stressful thing, because I love making videos and I don't want to make it more stressful than it has to be. So yeah, hope you'll stick with me for that and we'll see how it goes. So for this video, I thought I should introduce you to my new sewing space. So I filmed a lot in my old sewing space, in my old flat, and never showed you it until right at the end. So if you haven't watched that video, go and check it out now. But getting my new sewing space sorted was top of my agenda when I moved. So it's kind of already pretty much there. So I thought I'd show you a little update. There's a few more bits that I want, or a few more things that I need to do. And also it is very different to my old setup, with a few extra challenges as well as some things that I think will make life a bit easier. So I thought you might be interested. You all seem to be really interested in some of the things that I was doing to create a smaller sewing space, and my storage solutions and stuff like that. So as I'll be filming here as well, I thought definitely the right time to show you what it is that I've got behind me. It kind of will give you a little insight into my process, I guess, as well. I'm always looking for new storage ideas or new ways to make my sewing space more attractive, as well as more like accessible and easy and ergonomic. I don't know if that's the right word, but definitely always looking for new solutions, especially to store things. So if you have any ideas, let me know, and hopefully me sharing this might give you some ideas as well. So as I say, if you want to find out about the specifics about things like my machines, I talk a bit about that in my sewing space video in my old flat, so go and check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. But to start with, I'm just going to kind of show you through the furniture, the solutions that I'm doing, and the different things that I've got in the new place. So the first thing to say is that my new sewing space is actually in the main living space, as opposed to my old one where I had a kind of separate little nook that was at the top of the stairs. So it was very separate to the living area and everything else. But our new flat is kind of just one big room. We have a separate bedroom, a separate kitchen, and a separate bathroom. And then the living space, the dining space, my sewing space, the office space, it's all in one big room, which I actually really like. The main reason I like this is because I tend to sew in the evenings or weekends, which also tends to be the only time that I get to see my boyfriend and my dog. If we're in separate rooms, it feels a bit weird to me. Now it's all in one room, we can watch telly and I can sew. Okay, sometimes he gets a bit annoyed with the overlocker in particular, because that can be very loud. But at least this way we can kind of hang out together at the same time. And most of the time he's totally fine with it. So because it's in the main living space, I wanted it to be a lot less kind of focused on sewing, if that makes sense. So I wanted it to be a little bit more compact, definitely less cluttered. So everything's a little bit more hidden away than it was. As you can probably see behind you, I don't have, for example, my pegboard on the wall, and I don't have any shelves that just have loads of sewing stuff on. So as you can see, it mainly consists of just a table and a cupboard. Each of these things costs £10. We actually have had the table for a while, and I only set it up as a temporary sewing solution, but actually decided that it was perfect because of the fact that you can fold it away. So particularly we have our dining table, which is like in front of me here. So it's ideal to have something that folds away for when I'm not using it in particular, but that comes up so that I have enough space to put the fabric on. Because if you have too narrow a space, I find that it means your fabric, particularly if it's very heavy or very drapey, if it comes off the table too much, then it can kind of pull and make your stitching a bit less straight and cause sort of wonkiness and unevenness in the stitching, which obviously I don't want. So it's ideal that I can make it bigger if I need to, and I can make it even bigger if I pull it out a bit and make the back up. I don't tend to have to do that, but I'm sure if I get a more drapey fabric, maybe I'm making something with a lot of volume. So if there's something where a lot of fabric is going through and it's very drapey and it gets heavy at the ends, then I probably will want an even bigger surface. So as you can see, I still haven't made a cover for my overlocker, but that is coming. A very, very kind viewer donated some to me, so yeah, that's amazing, and I will talk more about that in a later video because that is my next thing that I'm going to sew, and I'm really excited because it's going to look really nice, especially in our new place. Next to it is a old school cupboard that we got off eBay. It could do with a bit of sanding and oiling and tarting up and all of that, but actually it's fine for now, and I will do that in the future. But I just needed something very soon to get all my stuff organised. So let's start with inside, and this is where the pegboard is. So what I've used is these strips that are like sticky strips, and I will link to the ones that I got off Amazon. I've stuck the pegboard to the inside of the door, so it is hidden away. Obviously you can only really do that with a cupboard where the shelf, for example, is a little bit indented, like doesn't come right up to the end. So luckily that is the case with this. And you might not want to do it if it was a really expensive cupboard. As I say, this was like £10. I really love it. It's absolutely perfect for us and our style. So it was really lucky that it was so cheap, and we got an absolute bargain there. And then inside, the storage solutions there are mainly IKEA. They're definitely very plastic. So I have this one big box, which I think is called a really useful box. That's full of patterns, so there's a little bit of space there. I did used to have a much smaller box for my patterns, so I've upgraded so that I have space. It's mainly PDF patterns because that's mainly what I do, or also a lot of self-drafted patterns. So I keep them all in there. They're not hugely organised. Next to that, I have one big box from IKEA, and that's my shame box actually. Those are my UFOs, my unfinished projects, lots of things that need mending. This pile has gone down a little bit recently. I've been quite good at making sure I have a kind of rule for myself. Whenever I make something or want to make something new, I have to first fix something from the mend it pile. Usually these things take like 5 minutes or less, so it's easy for me to just do that quickly before I start my new project. Then I have two matching boxes above this. One is open, so I can keep things like fabric spray, a fabric protector, stuff like that, and then other little bits and bobs. Next to that, I have another little box, and that's mainly just got interfacing in. On the top shelf, I have another one of those big boxes, again from IKEA, and this is actually my fabric stash. So this is currently the entirety of my fabric stash. I destashed quite a lot, donated some to like fabric sales and stuff like that, but I also sewed a lot of it up into things like presents or little bags. I used them for pocket linings, and yeah, generally when I moved I decided that I didn't want to take so much fabric, and I decided that I wouldn't really have a huge fabric stash all the time. So far it's working quite well. It's stopping me from just buying fabric randomly, and it's meaning that every time I buy fabric, I have a project in mind, or I don't know how long it'll last. Obviously, there will still be times when maybe fabric is a bit of a bargain, or it's a bargain if I buy a lot of it, and then I might not be able to fit it in there. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And then next to that is another box, which is my knitting supplies. So I'm going to be getting back into knitting, because I've been really enjoying it. Plus I'm commuting quite a lot, and usually I can get a seat, so it'd be really nice to get my knitting out. So on top of the cupboard, I've got, as you can see, my ironing board. It's just a small ironing board. I do have a big one as well that I can get out when I need to, but generally, especially whilst I'm sewing, I find it really easy, and I did this in my old place as well. I find it just really useful to have a small ironing board that I can reach and use without standing up, because I'm a bit lazy. I originally bought this before I was living in my old flat, and I first started sewing, and my partner and I were living in one room in a shared house, so we were even more limited on space. So getting a whole ironing board out all the time was just not possible. And I like to have things that I can leave out, so I can just get to the sewing really quickly without having to set anything up. So having, a small one that's on the surface next to my sewing machines just makes life a lot easier for me. And then all my drawers with all the bits and bobs. These are from IKEA. I really like them just as they are, but lots of people paint them. And these drawers have everything in them, from ribbons and elastic to needles, machine feet, buttons, you name it. This is where everything is kept. On top of those, you may recognise these jars from my old sewing space. So I have all my main threads, and then I have a little one for ribbons, one for zips, and then there's the little ones for the smaller machine feet, the bobbins, and stuff like that. All these vintage threads here were given to me by a lovely friend. I think they look really nice here. I was thinking for ages about how I could display them nicely, and I actually think this really works. Sometimes the simplest ideas are the best ideas. But if you have any other ideas about how I could display them, then let me know in the comments. In terms of cutting out, I used to just do it on the floor. I now have this really big surface here, which is great. It's actually a kind of drum cover. My boyfriend's a drummer, and this houses all his drums underneath, as well as all our other musical equipment. So he built this, and these are just old oak school desks. Again, they're secondhand, so they need a little bit of TLC, but for now we've put them up and we really like them, and this is a great surface for cutting out. So that's it from my sewing space. It's super, super compact. I used to have drawers full of fabrics. I used to have a big cupboard that was inbuilt in the old place. So moving into a new place is not as much storage. So I've had to get quite creative with sewing storage, and I really love it so far. I've sewn a few things in this space and actually find it a lot easier than the old space to sort of move around, not make as much mess, and just generally feel like I'm getting a better result, and I'm enjoying the process a lot, because I think if you have a nice tidy space as well, it can make sewing nicer. Of course, it would make the whole space even tidier if I did pack away my machines and stuff. But I like to have them out because I do a lot of sewing, and I do a lot of little bits of sewing, especially after work. I don't really have the energy to get everything out and do a lot of setting up. So that's why I have things like my little ironing board. It just kind of encourages me to get sewing and takes away the time that sometimes it takes to set things up. I'm really lucky that I have a big enough space that I can have this little section. And I'm lucky that my boyfriend lets me take over little parts of our flat for this. But I think I've particularly managed to be really compact this time. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear about your sewing spaces, how you manage it. Do you have your own sewing room? Do you like having your own sewing room? As I said, I'm not sure I would necessarily want that, because I like to be able to spend time with my boyfriend whilst I'm sewing as well. But I can't help but feel very jealous when I see amazing, organised, gorgeous sewing rooms that people have, because it looks like a lovely place to work. That's it from me this week, but I will be back very soon. As I say, I'm going to try and do 2 videos a month, so if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you don't already. And don't forget to leave a comment and let me know about your sewing space or any ideas that you have for compact, tidy sewing spaces. And I will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.